Welcome back to another episode of Life After MLM, the show. We've got a great panel today. I'm super excited. We chose to talk about the bite model and cult tactics, in addition to the conversation that we had about bullying and fair gaming. And we chose this topic probably about 5 or 6 days ago. And so much has happened in those 5 or 6 days. So the panel changed a bit. I've grabbed a couple extra people that have been going through these things, and we are going to talk about not only the bite model, but Stephen Hassan's influence continuum, show you guys some culty videos, and talk about some experiences that maybe we have had in the last couple weeks, and just sort of show everybody what's going on, right? So let me welcome to the show everybody. Hello, everybody. We've got Brenna from the podcast Cults Over Cocktails. We've got Amber. Y'all know Amber and her melty hair that's now beautifully purple and wonderful. We've got Megan, our in-house mental health queen professional. We've got Julie Joe. We know Julie Joe. And Tracy from Crack the Crown fame, and also Aaron Bees, who's got beautiful blue hair today. So I'm excited to talk to everybody. We're going to stay on mute when we're not talking, just to sort of make it easier for everybody. I'll pop on mute, and then when it's your turn to speak, we're going to talk. But let's just, hey, really quick, let's just introduce ourselves and share a little bit about what we do in this cult sphere, and just say hi. Would you like to go first?
Did you say me? My thing is glitching. Oh, okay. Yes, my name's Brenna, and I do host a podcast, Cocktails Over Cults, with my friend Faith Chesborough, who also left the Jehovah's Witness and an MLM that we were in together. And I am really excited to be here. I love everyone on the screen. Everyone is doing an amazing job for this community, and I'm excited to make an impact. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Amber's up next. And really quick, I want to introduce 2 people that are coming in. We have Linda from Recovering Hunbot, and Michelle. And for some reason, my mouse isn't working. There we go. Hello. So Amber, go ahead and take the floor.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amber Nye. I do a lot of my anti-MLM activism on Instagram and TikTok. I was in Beachbody for 5 years. So when I got out, I just started kind of speaking out about my experience, and not just about MLMs, but toxic diet culture and things surrounding that. And I recently got attacked by some Monat Huns yesterday. It was quite a wild ride, and with them doxing me, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it was a wild ride. Megan, welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Some of you have seen my face before. My name is Megan Williams. I am a mental health professional, former Senna Hun turned kitty cat. I do a lot of my advocacy on TikTok, some on Instagram, but I'm also the author of the book, Cutting Ties, Healing After MLM. It's a self-guided workbook for folks that are looking to leave or have left and are having just a lot of big feelings about their whole process and what that looks like. And that's kind of the space that I feel I also kind of help behind the scenes in the Life After MLM group. I do work with folks one-on-one in messaging that are looking to leave and aren't quite sure how to deal with all of that. I do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. That's where I come in.
Absolutely, and we are so happy to have you. Julie Joe.
Hey, I'm Julie Joe. I started on TikTok. I left an MLM as a leader in it, and I moved to YouTube. So I do TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and the majority of what I do is I like to point out the manipulation tactics that are used during trainings as someone who also used those manipulation tactics during trainings. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Tracy. Oh, and thank you so much for being here, Julie Joe. Tracy. Hi. Tracy Reed.
Hi.
So I am kind of new to the anti-MLM movement. I started a group called Crack the Crown in September of last year that is focused on highlighting all of the manipulative business practices and the culty tactics of the jewelry MLM paparazzi. We have been having their products tested as well and showing that they contain toxic levels of metals. So we're trying to get the government involved in regulating them. But mostly our support group, Recovering Paparazzi Consultants, is just meant to help folks get past the mistakes they felt like they made as a member of a culty business. So we are, I think at this point, at 2,600 members, which is 2,600 people who've left Paparazzi Consultants, and we're growing every day. We hope.
That's incredible. I love watching your journey. This whole thing, I love you so much, Tracy. Thank you for being available this morning. Tracy was a last minute addition because our beautiful friend Jacqueline from On the MS is without power in an ice storm. So she texted me and said, I can't make it. And Tracy popped in. So Aaron Bees is up next.
Hey guys, my name is Aaron Bees. Why was I going into my YouTube intro just now? I'm a wife, I'm a mom, a military veteran, spent 13 and a half years in multi-level marketing, was a part of 6 different companies. What? That's odd, right? But anyways, I am a YouTuber. I have a podcast. I am somebody that spends a lot of time. I was actually in the top 0.38% of Prove It, which was my last company. And so I'm using all of my social media platforms to expose the practices, just like Tracy was talking about. Specifically, I have a love-hate relationship with exposing. I'm just going to say it. Is it okay if I say it, Roberta? I'm here to expose Jessie Lee Ward and her horrible, horrible ways of using the bite model in her business practices.
Absolutely. And we are so happy that you're here. Michelle Carpenter, welcome.
Hi, sorry I'm late. Can you hear me all right? I'm late because I was trying to set up my AirPods to work with this computer. So, hi everyone. I'm actually at my day job right now. So if I have to step out, it's probably just because somebody is sitting down next to me or something. So my name is Michelle. I was in Beachbody. I have been on Roberta's podcast, and I've just been kind of creating content and speaking out against MLMs for the last few months. One thing that I personally have kind of taken upon myself to really invest my time in is I'm a software and web developer. So I am working on building up a resource for people to be able to report fraud and find resources regarding the bite model or income disclosures, really anything that we often Google search as anti-MLM advocates. I would like to kind of create a resource for all of those things to be kind of in one place together. So that's my mission, that and just dismantling crazy myths around thank you, Blanca, around MLM. So that's me.
Amazing. And a special guest who also sneak peek will be the guest on Sunday's podcast episode, the amazing, wonderful, deep diving Alonda Carter, or you may know her as the Recovering Hunbot. Hello and welcome.
Hey, Roberta, and hey, everyone. I'm sorry if it's echoey, but since we've moved, I have not been able to set up my office, and I'm actually working right now, so things are kind of funkadelic. But I've been doing anti-MLM stuff since 2019 when I discovered what anti-MLM was, because it just slipped into my bubble. At the time I was watching or listening to a lot of like law of attraction stuff because I believe the BS. And, once anti-MLM started slipping into my life, I'm like, okay, I've got to research this. And I just haven't stopped. I've done a lot of deep dives. I've received cease and desist, lots of hating on everything. And most recently, since November, I have been streaming just about every single night about a company called On Passive that has been around since 2018, has yet to launch a product or anything. And I just keep hitting at it because it's horribly deceitful. It's targeting the elderly, senior citizens, immigrants, people in developing countries. And I just can't have that. And so since that's happening, I'm speaking out. And that's kind of me in a nutshell. I'm also speaking out about Zeus's Bounty, which is another crypto MLM thing, which is diving into NFTs too, and some kind of chariot races. It's just insanity. But with On Passive, before I pass it back to you, so far I have found 17 songs, and they all praise the creator of On Passive, Ash Mufara, and also the company. I mean, it is so culty. And that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on, Roberta.
I'm so happy that you're here and you were able to make it. Our talk on Sunday, I've already edited it. It's ready to go. That was one of the things that I remember, because that's sort of the joke that I make when I talk about getting 5 people to join 5 people to join 5 people. I always say that includes like third world countries and babies that are just born and the elderly and people on their deathbeds. And then you and I talking about On Passive, you're like, no, they're also targeting those people. And so it was just like, wow. Like they really are targeting every single person. And it is really crazy. I'm excited for you guys to learn more about it on Sunday and to check out Alonda's channel and to, deep dive into that. So I think we have a really, really great panel of people who are sort of experts in their own perspective spaces. And let's talk about Dr. Stephen Hassan and his incredible bite model. It was one of the very first things that sort of woke me up, listening to Leah and Mike, talking to people, finding the bite model. It was just like, oh my God, this is all happening to me. And so prior to the show, I went through the bite model. I found the majority of the instances that we do see in multi-level marketing. There are some that are a little more extreme, that you might not see in MLMs, but you do see in other cults. It might be like a faction. It might not be exactly what it says, but a little bit here and there. So we also have an activity at the end that we will sort of give you guys if you're interested in going down the bite model with your own personal experiences and highlighting the bite model so you can look at it in a way that actually affects you, and you can sort of cross off the things that don't affect you. So you can actually look at that and have that to look at whenever you're feeling, is this culty? You can be like, absolutely it is. So, let me pull up these banners. So for those of you that don't know, Dr. Stephen Hassan developed the bite model to describe the specific methods that cults use to recruit and maintain control over people. And the 4 ways are in the acronym of BITE. And that is behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. You can find the bite model on freedomofmind.com is Stephen Hassan's website. You can Google bite model. It's going to pop right up. So let's jump in really quick. We're going to start with behavior control examples. Look at me. I'm so fancy. I'm learning the software. And let's go in. So the first one on the bite model for me that I see all the time is number 1, regulating an individual's physical reality. And at this point, we're just going to sort of jump in and talk. So I'm not going to call your name. You can just unmute your mic and sort of either give personal examples or how you feel that this fits into cults and multi-level marketing. And I'm going to give it to you guys.
I have one for this. I'm sure we all have one for all of them, but towards the end of my career in MLM, I got a diagnosis for my mom, not for myself, and it was pretty serious. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to move back to New York and take her to her appointments and help her out. And so I had told my upline, I am going to move back to New York. It's the right thing to do. My mom needs help. And they immediately were saying that it would negatively affect my business. And, am I really just going to leave my team? And at the time, my mom had a diagnosis of like a 5-year life expectancy, which we don't like prescribe to that. Like, that's, I'm not going to put a limit on anything, but it definitely prompted me to want to move back home and, be close to her and, it just kind of changed my outlook on life a little bit. And I remember when I left and I had shared this with people who also had left, they just were like, could not believe that they would even say that, like as if these independent business owners could not independently build their businesses without me being 5 minutes down the road from them. It just didn't even make any sort of sense at all. Meanwhile, my upline lived in California and I had built a business from Boston for the past 5.5 years. So like it's just control. Like the make it make sense, right? So that's my story.
Absolutely. Who else has a story about your MLM or cult regulating your own reality?
Okay. I have a few. So when I originally started in Beachbody, my upline, she kind of took me under her wing, and I had won $500 for my 21-day fix results, and I won a spot to be featured in like one of the very first 21-day fix infomercials. So my team and my upline like really used that to kind of prop me up and push me towards being a leader within my team. So I mean, when I was deep in it, I was deep in it. And I had built my way up to diamond, and my upline was like, well, for our diamond coaches, you have to be a diamond coach to be able to do this. But there was an opportunity to go to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within conference. And I was very much given the sense that if I didn't go to this, that my business wasn't going to continue to succeed past the point that I was already at, because I was kind of in like a stuck place. And my upline very much encouraged me to go to that. And because I was still broke, but I was faking it till, I make it on social media, I not only missed my own mother's wedding for this because it was the same weekend, but I also I pawned my engagement ring and my wedding band to help fund that trip. And obviously it did not pay off because here I am now. But in that moment, I was made to feel, if I didn't make the sacrifices to be there, then I wasn't going to be able to continue to grow my business. So
Wow.
I feel like I have heard, specifically on your podcast, Roberta, several stories of people, missing weddings of family members or weddings that they were supposed to be in. And it's just, and obviously Tony Robbins didn't schedule this on that date on purpose, but like, that seems like a really common theme. Like, that's not important. You don't need to do that. That's unbelievable. I'm so sorry.
And it also goes into number 8, which is restricting your leisure, entertainment, and vacation time. Right? So a lot of these bite model things sort of go together, oddly enough. Does anyone else have a story they want to share? Or do you want to move on to deprivation of sleep?
I have a story. Well, I have lots of stories, but just to I guess an overall main thing that I was told all the time is you are the 5 people that you hang around in my MLM. And so number 2, where it says dictate where, how, and with whom the member lives and associates or isolates, I feel like the idea of you need to cut out anyone who doesn't completely support you in every way in your MLM. And that includes family and friends, and just people that have supported you your whole life and love you and want what's best for you. And you need to surround yourself with people who do, which are the people who are the people in the MLM. And that was my experience. Was I cut out so many people in my life so many friends. I stopped talking to some family members. And a lot of those relationships are still not great or non-existent because of the amount of time that I spent not speaking to them. And it was literally just me talking to people in my MLM because, again, the echo chamber of you are the 5 people that you hang around, and also the echo chamber one-liner, because one-liners are such a big deal in MLMs. The idea that copycat. That was an Arbonne thing. It was like the best copycat. The best copycat wins. And so, that kind of goes together with each other. Like the 5 people you hang around, and whoever the best copycat is wins it. So that was my experience.
I heard so many times, like, whoever you're like really sort of jealous of, like, their success, to emulate them and to do exactly what they do and to ask them, what do you do? And oftentimes it's buy more inventory. What do you think? It's bad. Number 6 in the bike model. Of course.
To give a story. I'm sorry.
Sure. No, of course.
But I was listening to everybody, and since I've been covering on passive so heavily, I thought about what they do. And they have allegedly different offices around the world. There's one office, I can't remember the name of the city where it was in, but it was found to be basically all completely fake. And it was a rented office. And they continue to do this. And there were actors who were portraying people to be so-called employees. And so now all the people who are founders, when you join on passive, you get the title of founder, but you really don't get anything other than you've spent $97 and you're just sitting around supposed to be patient. All these people believe that this reality of that they do have these offices, they have hundreds of people working for them, but the fact is they really don't. And so I just wanted to offer that up as one way that people are being controlled in that way.
Can I just say, I cannot wait to listen to your episode of the podcast.
It's really wild. And even Alonda shared a new picture. I think it was in one of the Facebook groups, but it was another photoshopped picture because this guy, like, there's really not a lot of pictures of him that exist. So they just keep taking like that one good headshot and putting it on different bodies to make it look like he has all these photos. It's hilarious. The same face. And the last one was like him in this like snazzy leather jacket, and he's like, yeah. And it was just,
it was amazing. It's like, are you the Fonz or what?
The Fonz. Hey, for sure. Sorry, my computer just did a weird thing. We're going to move on to the next one, which is deprivation of sleep. So absolutely, this is a thing. People always go, no, it isn't. And I say, think about when those Zoom calls are. Think about those events. Think about being at convention, how little sleep that you get, how you're always constantly like doing something that is absolutely time manipulation. And that includes sleep deprivation. So please, I have to check something, but please, anybody that has an example of this, I would love to hear it.
Okay, can I just say, trigger warning, power hours. Yeah, I mean, that was really, really big in my Beachbody team, probably all across Beachbody and the whole industry, I'm assuming. But we had power hours based on my upline's time zone, which was Eastern. So it was an hour earlier for me and 2 hours earlier for anyone on the West Coast, or 3 hours actually. And it was like 7 a.m. for her. So waking up super freaking early and basically just a lot of, even without the power hours, it was a lot of, if you're not waking up an hour and a half before your kids, to get your workout in and at least an hour of work, then you are not trying hard enough, and that's why you're failing. So anyone else have that exact same experience?
I want to piggyback on that because I'm also a former Beachbody coach. And the Power Hour, absolutely. I would say all of the 4 vital behaviors in the Beachbody fit that so well. And I can remember a Canadian coach, Canadian male coach. You probably know who I'm talking about if you were in Beachbody. And I don't know if I can say his name or not, but it was because of him that I worked myself so hard that I injured my neck. Because it was like, you know, stay up as late as you possibly can, get up, before you should. And it was just insanity. And so I didn't even realize it at the time that I would lose so much sleep because I was running around all over the internet attempting, never succeeding, but attempting to, build my team. And that's what I have.
Okay, mine is from Prove It Events. And one of the things that the CEO says is the day will end when the outcome is met. Nobody knows what that means, and then you're
salad.
Yeah. And then you're there. This is where the bite model kind of, all of the pieces kind of are woven into one another. But one of the things at the Prove It events is that the playlist is the same. So at every event, it's the same music over and over again, which is just another level of indoctrination, in my opinion. And then you don't know what time it's going to end. You don't really know what time you're going to break for lunch or dinner, and things are adapted, and they're controlling food, they're controlling your time, they're controlling your behavior because they want you jumping up and down, they're controlling what you're listening to, and you're exhausted and you're encouraged to drink more ketones. So it's kind of like a little bit of everything, but that's what a Prove It event is like. It's crazy. Then if you're a rank 6 or above, you have meetings before the event starts, and then you have meetings after every single day. So if it's a 3-day event, and it goes on for however long, and then as a leader, you have meetings before and after, that you're looking at, well, what happened? What could we do better? It's a debrief essentially that could easily be done through like a group chat or something like that. Hey, go get some rest, grab a good meal, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. But it's controlling of literally, it's all of the pieces of the bite model, honestly.
For us, it was a badge of honor how late you could stay up. We would go to these major functions and you basically wouldn't sleep for 72 hours. And maybe a speaker would be done talking at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And you were expected to stay up that late. And then when COVID happened, this was kind of when I started to wake up and sort of realize everything, because their tactics weren't as successful remotely, and they fought hard for us to keep in-person meetings. They fought super, super hard. And then the legal team at our approved providing training system, I don't know if you guys had those or how your MLMs worked, but the approved provider legal team was like, this is not good. You can't stay in person. So then we turned into having a training almost every single night of the week. And for me on the East Coast, I wouldn't be done with trainings on weeknights when I have work until like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I eventually started getting really sick, and I like passed out when I was giving a presentation to one of my teams. And so they said, okay, you don't have to come every night, but you have to come at least once a week and stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning. Meanwhile, I was on the board, they call it, like, giving the presentations as like a leader at least 15 nights a month. So it was a lot.
That's a lot. And they say time freedom. But this is proof that it's not. There's no time freedom in saying I have to. It's not required, but it's strongly encouraged, because if you don't do this stuff, what's the outcome? You don't get asked to speak again. You don't get asked out in the events again. You don't get to go to the wine night with everybody. You're cut out. You're excommunicated. You're kicked out of the group chat. That's what happens. That's culty.
I have a funny story about that. So we would have these goals, and for us, there was core, hardcore, and LMH core. Let's make history core. And so you couldn't go home until you got 3 contacts a day. So girls and guys, whatever, they would be riding the trains in Boston. That's where most of my team was, and some still are in it. Riding the trains at 2:00 in the morning in Boston. How unsafe is that? And when the newest person went diamond this year, he took his cell phone and went like this through his calendar. And I mean, he was working 60 to 80 hours a week, and he had a wife. So I'm assuming she was probably doing just as many hours. So to go diamond, you have to put in 120 hours a week is basically what he proved. And actually the video got taken down after it had been posted, but I screenshotted it all. So
Wow.
I'm like, there is no freedom. There's no freedom.
No.
No, yeah,
And
and
then
you know what's funny about that? Like the time freedom is like my team and my upline, she preached to us that she was able to build her business on only 2 hours a day. And it was the, work for this amount of time, and in the end, the result is going to pay off. But really, I mean, I tried to do the 2 hours a day, but it wasn't 2 hours a day.
You don't get anywhere.
No,
You
my
don't get
phone-
anywhere doing that.
my phone was glued to my hand constantly, even though I was told, you'll be able to have more time with your kids and your spouse and do the things you want to do. But really, my life revolved around Beachbody and trying to build my business. The only books I read were personal development books. I only listened to personal development podcasts. And I mean, that was the only kind of like information that I was consuming, because that's what I was told that I needed to do to continue to be successful. But really, that wasn't the case whatsoever.
Yeah, and Amber, I'm pretty sure we determined that we did not have the same upline as each other, but I had the exact same story told to me by my Star Diamond upline. The 2 hours, the pockets of the day thing that you hear from everyone, but specifically that you can do this in 2 hours and spend the rest of the day with your kids. And
yeah,
okay.
my upline,
That's why I was like, oh, I can do this and work full time. Sure, no problem, because that's just an extra 10 hours a week.
Yeah, she always pushed that book, that 10-hour work week book. And then, the very first book she made us read was The GoPro by Eric Worre. And it was just, you have to be doing personal development all the time. And I love to read, I love reading books, and being like doing that personal development for so long, 5 years, only reading those self-help and everything, it ruined my love of reading and everything. And I'm slowly getting back to that, but it's just amazing how like that can just damage so many things that you really enjoyed in your life before that you took for granted. Because I remember there was one training that like my team was putting on, and the two coaches, they were a husband and wife team, and they like cursed, like publicly shamed somebody who said, oh, I'm not going to be able to make it. It was like the Game of Thrones like finale. And so they just wanted to relax and be able to watch it. And they shamed her for choosing to just want to watch that hour live. That was the same time as this meeting. And, for choosing that over being present in the live training and whatever how they were doing. But I was kind of like, what? This ain't right. Like the
That's
girl
wild.
just wants to watch some TV at 9:00 at night. Like,
right.
On
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
Well, let's
Can
talk
I make
about. Let's
It's a
talk
great
about
segue
feminine.
into number 11.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say let's talk
No,
about.
I'm just saying, like,
person.
here's this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Tracy. I'm so sorry.
No, I was going to say paparazzi hit an in-person convention and refused to refund anybody's ticket and give them any of the awards they had earned through the year if they didn't show up in the middle of a pandemic. People are dead from going to their convention. But if you purchased a ticket back when the coronavirus numbers were dropping and you had confidence that you would be okay to go by then, and then you're having a convention in the middle of a spike where it's a red zone city with a mask mandate, and you bring 15,000 plus people there and tell them we're not enforcing the mask mandate because you're adults and we don't believe coronavirus is real. But if you don't show up, you don't get your awards, and you can't have a refund, you coward, for not coming. Shamed everyone who chose not to come, told them they were fear-mongering, and now people are dead. So, yeah, social pressure, physical presence being required. People are dead from believing what their uplines and their cult told them.
And then now, to go off of that, their uplines are saying, well, it's their fault.
Oh, yes, they were adults who made a choice.
Yes.
We hear that every day. They were adults. We all make our own choices. Yeah.
No empathy.
No. None.
None.
No empathy.
Zero.
Yeah, and that's part of the gaslighting tactic that they use, that when you do leave, to shame you into staying quiet and not speaking your truth.
Absolutely. And what you said, Tracy, is a perfect example of number 11, which is rewards and punishments used to modify behaviors, both positive and negative. You don't get your stuff if you don't come, but you also don't get a refund if you don't come. And if you die, that's your fault because you chose to come. Disgusting. Let's move on to information control. And we can go through these quickly because I don't have a ton of examples. I have a few, but here we are. Control through your cell phone with texting, calls, internet, constantly. Like, are you in that group chat? Are you in that Facebook page? Are you in the uplines Facebook page? Let me add you to that. Oh, are you in the leader chat? Oh, you need to be in the leader chat too. So much control with information, right? The only information that you're getting is from the cult.
I will give you an example of that. And it's on passive. I mean, I have Beachbody examples too, but this comes to mind. They have nonstop webinars. I recorded one webinar that was over 7 hours long. They have webinars on Monday. I mean, like standard webinars for people to find out about it on Mondays. I want to say like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. I know of some. And then there's other leaders having different webinars throughout there as well. But I kid you not, 7 hours. And you are made to feel like you need to attend all of these things. It is like a nonstop string of the word salad, of the catchphrases that they use. And I mean, literally those songs that I've told you about, it's like they take all the catchphrases and just mash them together. And it further indoctrinates people into believing that this is going to save them. There are people who have been below the poverty line that have joined. And not only do they join, they get multiple spots waiting for it to launch. And it has yet to ever launch. 4 years into it.
Ooh, yes. I have an excellent example of what Emily was just saying. So my regional vice president, before I qualified for it, was when I was early on, was telling me, hey, if anyone messages you or sends you a video or anything that could be negative, just send it to me. I want to see it. And so I would do that. And she said, no, this isn't a video you need to watch. This person's just ignorant. This person's uneducated. This person doesn't know. So I wouldn't watch any of the videos, read any of the articles, look at anything that people were sending me, trying to help me get out, trying to tell me something was wrong. But I wouldn't look at it because the person I looked up to, my mentor said, send it to her. She'll technically, without saying it, approve it or not. And of course, she did not approve it. So I wouldn't look at it. And that, I think, is how a lot of things go down, right? The uplines say, no, you don't look at it, don't watch it, don't read it, don't do anything. Let me see it first. Or they'll just tell you to ignore it. But she wanted to see it first, I guess, to act as though she would really look at it and let me know if it was okay or not. And she's
vetting it for you.
She's vetting it for me. Exactly. She's vetting to see if they are actually educated and know what's going on or not. And I just think back to all those people who were actually trying to help me. And I think, and this is happening to other people too. They aren't able to see it because the people they look up to, the people they cherish, the people they care about, their mentors that they look up to so much are saying, I would not look at that. That's a no. Don't do it. And it makes me cringe thinking about it for myself back then, but that's happening to so many people now.
I even had that within my uplines. So the woman that recruited me had a falling out with her direct upline, but was connected to that woman's upline. So my recruiter and the mega upline formed a dominion, because, Senegence is all about making things royal in some weird way. They didn't like this middle person, and they would bully her and shun her and push her out. And my recruiter would be like, don't talk to her. We don't talk to her. Just leave it alone. And then when my recruiter jumped ship and took most of her team over to another company, that woman then became my direct upline. The woman that I wasn't allowed to communicate with was now responsible for mentoring me. And I'm going to tell you that, and I've said this before, that woman is an amazing human being. I hate that she's indoctrinated. I hate that she does what she does. But I'm going to tell you, the reason they didn't want anybody communicating with her was because they were the vicious mean girls. And they wanted to control how we did things. And they were pushy and they were over the top with everything. And the woman that they didn't want us communicating with was very much like, do what feels good to you. And the other two were like, no, indoctrination. They carved out all the things from the bite model. And it was, even inside the companies, there's that.
What a perfect segue, Megan. Thought control. Require members to internalize the group's doctrine as truth and indoctrinate yourself. Duh. But let's move on to this one, which is this is one of my favorite ones. The use of loaded language and cliches, which constrict knowledge, stop critical thinking, and reduce the complexities of life, the nuances, into platitudinous buzzwords. I think that one we see so much.
I would say every single MLM has their own lingo. And before you know it, you just start using it as if the world understands what the hell you're saying. And nobody does. And nobody gives a flying monkey's butt about it anyway, except for you and everybody else who believes in this stuff.
Absolutely. That's why I get so excited when I get to connect with other anti-MLMers whose backstory is Beachbody, because like Jessica, Caitlin, and Amber, you guys, I'm like, we speak the same language. We're already like kind of on the same page. And then also a totally different book from the one that we were reading before. You know what I mean?
But were you changing the world $5 at a time? Because I was changing the world.
Yeah, right. Like Beachbody had anything for $5.
Yeah. For $5 at a time, I was changing the entire world. Changing the world.
Yeah. Do it scared, Tracy, because you can't change the world unless you're scared.
I was afraid when my neck started turning green. I was a little scared, but they told me that was my personal pH, so I felt better then. I felt better. I was okay.
The way that Tracy just said that with a straight face, though, can we talk about it?
Y'all.
Yeah. Yes, because now we're in the trauma where it becomes like a trauma bond and it becomes funny because we've all been affected by the same cult, essentially. We're just many different versions of the same exact cult. And so, yeah, like a lot of times people, even when I talk to cult survivors and things that are not MLM cults, they're some of the darkest people I've ever met. And they make the jokes and you'd be like, oh my God, that's so offensive. And I was like, no, they made that joke. I didn't make that joke. They said that, not me. It's really interesting. Megan, as a mental health professional in this space dealing with trauma, can you talk to us about why we do find our trauma so hilarious?
So this is this is a thing that happens when you've been able to kind of make peace with what happened. It doesn't typically happen for people who are still walking through the instant effects of it, but it's on the other side. One of the things that has to happen through the processing and the healing is that we have to accept that that is part of our reality. And the other piece of this is just as human beings, one of the things that I think is important is that we separate out our, trauma identity from who we are as people. So like in our situation, our inner Hunbot or our inner Attila, as I call it, we have to separate her. We have to pull her out or him out of us and say, that is not me. So like personally, I've had so many people reach out to me and tell me like, hey, when you were doing that thing, that didn't feel like you, because it wasn't me. It was my inner Attila. It was this person, this piece of my identity that I was trying to be that I wasn't. So what trauma does is it kind of like teases that out and makes it feel like that's the real piece of who we are. And when we're able to step back from it, we can be like, that is not who I am. That is something that happened to me. That is something that I did. I might not be very super proud of it, but I have to accept that it's part of my reality. And it's very similar to like first responders and police. They have a very dark, twisted sense of humor that if you're not a part of their kind of group of thinking, if you heard them talking, you'd be like, these people are absolute just dirtbags about the way they're talking. But that's the only way to get through it. It keeps it separate from us. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that you call it your inner Attila. That's my favorite thing.
I wanted to ask Erin something. Y'all know, if you don't know, she's my best friend. And,
talk to me, bestie.
Okay. Well, here's the deal, Erin. As someone who has known Jessie Lee Ward the longest out of everyone in her downline and has experienced not just Prove It, but her empire, right? Her own, in my opinion, cult. What's the thought control there? As someone who's seen a lot of her trainings, watched people react to her, I'm so intrigued by what you have to say because you've experienced this so closely. How does she control their thoughts? Because she does. To me, it's super intense.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think there are so many layers to this. First of all, she's not dumb. We all know that. Yeah. She is very strategic in what she's doing. She's very strategic in how she goes about doing it. And some of the examples of the way that she pours into people, because I think that is a core part of this, is when you see her saying people's names, whether it's a live or a Zoom or whatever, they're like, oh my God, she sees me. There is a lot of dangling of the carrot within Prove It in general, in my opinion. And by saying people's names, they feel seen. And when people feel seen, they continue to show up. Oh my God, she said my name. Oh my God, she sent me this postcard. I also think that that's the reason that Prove It sends out some of the little gifts that they do. It's just an example of love bombing. So I think that this is multifaceted, but the way that she really kind of controls the behavior, one of the big things is by doing these little things to help people feel like they are seen. The other thing that she does is she learns lots of facts about people and packages that up like she knows people. So she, at one point, and she's said it in multiple trainings, has had like stuff written down on people. Okay, they have 2 kids, they have 2 cats named Stormy and Leo, military veteran, they live in Las Vegas. She has all of these kind of facts on people, which allows her to say, I know them. Yeah, I know your kid's name. I know they're in 2nd grade or whatever. You know what I mean? So like she kind of uses that as a manipulation tool to highlight the relationship. I use that term very loosely. And then because of that, it allows them to kind of, oh my God, she sees me. And that is a big behavior control tool that she uses, in my opinion.
That's one of the habits of highly effective people. There's a book that's really like 50 years old that highlights using that behavior to help yourself in sales. That's a very old technique, and some people are good at it and some people are not, but she sounds like a mistress of it.
But it's also it's a piggyback off of Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which, by the way, interesting, just little offshoot. How to Win Friends and Influence People is actually at one point in time was taught in the prison system to help people be effective when they got out in order to get jobs and things like that. Guess what? When you have a bunch of people with antisocial personality disorder and you give them a handbook on how to manipulate people, what do they do when they get out?
Do a really good job of manipulating people.
And I'm going to tell you that's in a complete like random moment, because this is how my brain works. So we're talking cults. Cult leader Charles Manson utilized that book in order to con young women into coming with him. So keep that in mind. Like, when you give these types of manipulation tactics on a silver platter to somebody who has personality disordered characteristics, and I'm not diagnosing Jessie and I'm not saying she has anything, but when you give it to somebody who already has those tendencies, it gives them that free opportunity. And people with antisocial tendencies, not introverts, which we call antisocial, sociopaths, psychopaths, that kind of lingo, when we give these to those people, all it does is give them permission and normalize behaviors that they are already looking to do, because they get a thrill out of manipulating people. Just so you know.
God, Megan, you are my favorite. You're my favorite.
In
And
our
Where are your
Roberta
tiny
and I
hands,
have-
Tracy?
So I have new things.
I have been reading this book because it was recommended to me by a listener. They emailed me and said, I think you would love this book. I am loving it so far. It's taken me a lot of time to get through it because I'm relating so much to the personalities in here, going, oh my God, I know that person too. It's wild that 4% of the population are sociopaths. That's 1 in 25. Think about your child's school and their classroom. At least one person in that class, statistically, will become or already is a sociopath. And it doesn't mean you're going to be a serial killer or a murderer or anything. You could be a CEO of a scam, like a pyramid scheme. Weird. Or you could be the top mega hun inside that pyramid scheme. Or you could just be a controlling person outside the realm and feed into it there too. Like, they're everywhere.
I read that book last week.
These conversations are so important because I'm not pointing fingers at people. I'm just opening up doors and being like, did you read what it says right here? I think you might get some value out of this. This is a fantastic book if anybody wants it.
I want to be very clear. Most people who have antisocial personality disorder or any personality disorders, most of them come from having trauma in their background. Okay. Personality disorders are a response to trauma. They become a survival mechanism that becomes so ingrained in who they are, it becomes a personality trait. And that's why it's so hard to untangle. Personality is solidified by age 5. Just so you know, we have most of our personality traits solidified by age 5. So if you have a kid who has experienced extreme trauma, neglect, or love bombing before the age of 5, these are the things that can come out from that. Okay. It can happen after that as well, but this is also what makes us susceptible. Okay. So if you come from a healthy attachment place where you learn to trust people and you get your needs met and all of these things, you don't walk into a situation with somebody who has nefarious intent thinking that they could potentially have nefarious intent. You believe that everybody is going to be like you, and they're not. And that's what these people are trained to do as part of their survival mechanism, is to spot that weakness and exploit it, because that's how they survive. And that's why the people at the tippy top who have those extreme, dramatic transformation stories with the company, that's them identifying for you that their trauma has created this type of personality for them.
Can we talk about the color personalities real quick?
Yeah.
Because Tracy, do you love that?
I'm a red with yellow tendencies, but sometimes I can be green.
Yeah, I'm a blue. So I can't
I'm a
can't
blue
pay attention,
too.
but I'm fun and I like to dance.
Yeah.
That was definitely something that was taught within the Empire by Jesse Lee, and down to when you post, you want to make sure that you're speaking to all 4 of those color personalities. So you want to be fun, you want to be direct, you want to be, highlighting the winning that's happening. Although if you really look at the winning, I'm just going to say it, 145 car earners in the last 4 years, 2 months. When you have 10,000 people and it breaks down to 0.01% of people that are earning a car on her team, she's not telling the whole story. I find that fascinating. But anyways, they're coached to put the, all 4, to talk to all 4 color personalities. That's why you see so many of her leaders, they're like, I'm a red personality, but I'm a mushball and I'm a yellow, is because they're being taught to turn this personality on to appeal to other types that they think are that way as well. I don't think that you can necessarily put people into a box. I think there's situations where people are, very direct in their communication. I think that there's situations where people step back and they're the mush ball. I think that there's situations where, they're really studying the statistics and the data. And I think that everybody kind of has these personalities, and it just depends on what you're doing at the time, and so to put people in a box where, oh, they're the blue personality, so they're going to be in charge of music, or they're the ones that are on stage dancing, trying to hype up everything. I just think that it's a disservice to a lot of people, because people are not, just one way in general,
Absolutely. LuLaRich did that. We did that at leadership, though. It wasn't at convention. It was at leadership. So you get invited to leadership, which is just a smaller convention. And we would have to go into these rooms, and we did the color lenses, and we would get a pack of cards, and you had to look at the pictures on the back of the card. And there was all these different things, like one really organized in all color coded, beautiful. Which one do you gravitate toward first, and which one do you gravitate towards second? And then you were to flip it over, and then you read things and you're like, oh yeah, that's what it really means. So it's like analytical is green, people that are like adventure seeking, and like the kind of people that be like, I'll go bungee jumping with you, those people are orange, or whatever the color is, I don't really remember, but it was that. And then it was very much like, as a leader, you're a blue. So you need to understand, as a blue, what you need to do to be able to talk to greens, because blues are emotional, but greens are analytical. So you're going to have to approach their problems from more of an analytical perspective and talk to them like about money and goals. But this person over here, she's a blue just like you. So you guys can talk about like family and kids and like what you're going to do for Christmas and things like that. And I mean, they're legitimate terms and they're legitimate things. And in an actual setting that's not a cult, it makes sense to be able to be a leader who is able to lead properly for people that learn differently. It makes total sense. But when you put it inside a cult, it's manipulative. There's no other reason other than to manipulate, because you're not actually interested in my personal growth. I'm not actually ranking up in an actual business. Nothing about my skill at all allows me to move up the ladder like in a regular job. It's all about how many people I can convince to come on underneath me, right? I'm a nurse, I get 10 more nurses, I become a doctor. That's not a thing. Like, it's just not. And so those color lenses, absolutely, and we're getting into emotional control, which it's so much. It's so much. And this is, I think, where a lot of us struggle, is with those emotions and the way that we feel and the things that have been put on us and what we've worked through our brains to be like, is this real life? Obviously manipulating and narrowing the range of feelings, like, you're being negative, babe. You're being so negative, babe. Sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're evil because you're negative. And the next one we're going to talk about is it being your fault. So please, as I go through these emotional control examples, please start speaking, and I'll work on the ticker.
I have one that I'm sure everybody can relate to, and it's either 1 or 2 words. Dream board.
Oh, Megan has a good thing about dream boards.
that.
I see you're choking and coughing and laughing.
To this day, it
Megan.
just grinds my gears, makes me so angry because it keeps you so trapped in the belief because you're looking at that damn thing all the time. And whenever you doubt yourself, and then it's attached to knowing your stinking why, it's just like all of it is just so controlling, so manipulative, and I think so harmful.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it like really feeds into the toxic positivity part of all of this because, you know, you're making your vision board, you're doing what they tell you to do from the secrets. You know, the secret is to manifest. And if you only focus on the positivity, then that's what you're going to, you know, manifest and attract to your life, because that's the law of attraction, right? Is that if you're putting the positive energy out there, that's what is going to come back to you. But in reality, you know, we're repressing our real feelings and how we were feeling and what we were going through, and only focusing on the positive when it was actually, you know, really kind of damaging our psyches.
Well, and how gaslighting is it to say if you manifest the positive, then that must mean the assumption then is I'm manifesting the negative.
Mm-hmm.
So if something truly terrible happens to me, then that means I brought it on myself, which is complete crap. It's complete crap. Like that's why I have my moments. So I'm going to shut up because I have my moments.
I have something for Amber really quickly because you went to the Tony Robbins event. I also went to that event. I was in New Jersey. When we're talking about emotional manipulation, the Dickens exercise, do you remember that? Where the lights went dark and he was like, imagine your life in 5 years from now. If you were doing the same things, what would your family look like?
Oh, yeah.
There was 14,000 people in this arena in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically trying to get you, for those of you that have never been to his events, he's basically trying to get you to picture, if you don't step into the greatness that you're supposed to step into, like who you're destined to be, what will happen in your life. Well, most people are going to think of the worst case scenario. Well, I'm going to end up, when I say this, y'all are going to laugh because y'all are going to get it. I'm going to end up in my parents' basement paying $300 rent. You know, my husband's going to divorce me. My kids aren't going to want to have a relationship with me. Like, people naturally go.
Well, and I felt like that was like he hypnotized everybody in that room with that exercise, because I remember closing my eyes and going through that exercise, and like, you know, he had us like yelling and screaming through, imagining these horrible events that could happen. And then when he like snapped his fingers and we opened our eyes, it had been like 45 minutes that when it felt like, you know, 5-10 minutes.
And you have all these people around you that are just crying and just going crazy. The light, it's completely dark in this stadium. And he definitely does. We all know he uses NLP, right? We all know that, you know. They talk about that all the time. And so, yeah, I definitely think that.
Can you elaborate?
Neuro-linguistic programming. And
Thank
so
you.
I think this is just my opinion. I do think that is a form of hypnotizing in a sense. You're reprogramming the thought process.
Yes, I think Amanda Montell talks about that in her book Word Slut, and Cultish, actually. I think she talks about it in both of those books.
Because that one,
and
I was going to say
Nancy
that
Salzman, who's the head was the head of NXIVM with Keith Raniere, was like an expert in NLP and used it in NXIVM.
Yeah. I was told that I was having a questioning spirit about me and not just asking questions. And so I was sent to a hypnotist by my mentors who, if you got to a certain level, like most of us were retired or partially retired from the business. And because I had a questioning spirit about me, I was sent to him, and I spent $30,000 on hypnosis. Yes.
Wait, if they were really good, they'd have hypnotized you not to remember that, so you didn't rat them out for being creepy. So, yeah.
Well, and like
Tracy.
the conference that I went to was the Unleash the Power Within, which was you do the fire walk. And so that was the very first night we did it too. So I mean the session started at like 7 a.m. We got like maybe 30 minutes to an hour to eat. And the rest of the second half of that day was basically getting ready and programming our minds to be able to walk across these hot coals. And I went to the one in Dallas, and that one made national news because so many people got second-degree burns on their feet from this fire walk. And they were told, you didn't do it correctly. You weren't in the correct mindset. The cool moss
Yep.
that you were supposed to be chanting to yourself as you were walking across the coal. Like and if you looked down, then there was a certain way you had to walk across them, and people would catch you at the end, so you walked into this mud pit basically in your feet. But I mean, I was on the next day because people knew I was there, and I had my bare feet out, like, look, my feet are fine. Like, this is just all like media hyped up over exaggeration.
That is fucking insane.
You want to hear something crazy?
What?
Obviously.
Listen to this, you guys. So Prove It allegedly uses the same person that does like the music and stuff that used to work for Tony Robbins. Joseph McClendon, who works with Tony Robbins at his events, I know you remember him, Amber, speaks at Prove It events sometimes, who does the same things. And Prove It, and I've participated in this, does firewalks as well at their company events. In addition to breaking an arrow with your neck, like this soft part of your neck, and all these different like little things, like breaking through, your limiting beliefs, and it's this whole process. It is exactly like that Tony Robbins event. And in fact, when I first found Prove It, and I was invited to come to an event with Jesse Lee, and I was at the event, I walked in after just attending a Tony Robbins event to this same music. So when I walked into the Prove It event, I was like, this is all very familiar. This is a sign I'm supposed to be with this company. And that was one of the reasons that I joined, because I was like, oh my God, this is so familiar. This is so crazy. Joseph McClendon was on the stage, and I'm like, oh my God, I just was at an event, oh my God, there's so many coincidences. This makes sense. So it's crazy.
And like after the event, like we had a playlist of all the songs that they would play to get you pumped up with the music loud and the lights, and it made you feel like you were at like a rave. And we would continue to listen to that music during our power hours, to get us pumped up and in the mood to talk to people and connect with them.
So y'all know that Tony Robbins uses subliminal messaging, right? In his music and stuff like that. I want to make sure that everybody knows that. I want to make sure that everybody on the chat who's watching this understands that. So I have a Tony Robbins story from the 90s. So my father used to buy everything that was on infomercials ever in the middle of the night when he was insomniac, right? He bought an entire like 90 something series of Tony Robbins tapes, right? His tapes. And the one that he listened to the most was the subliminal one. And then, all of his music, everything that's choreographed into his stuff, for people that are unaware, he uses subliminal messaging, and he is a hypnotherapist. Well, hypnotherapist.
Well, and the thing about that is the last day of the conference, Tony wasn't there the last day. It's like they show like some documentary, because he's like pescatarian, and so they show this thing about like factory farming and how they abuse the animals. But I didn't go to that because I was in Dallas, and my cousin and his wife lived in Dallas, and so I wanted to go visit them. I hadn't seen them in a while, so that last half of the day, I kind of skipped out on that, and my team was not happy with me for doing that. because I mean, God forbid I'm in town and I can go visit my family while I'm there before I leave. But everyone who watched that documentary that they had, they were like, they couldn't eat meat afterwards. Like eating meats, like steak or chicken, or like any sort of animal product, like just kind of revolted them and made them sick. So I feel like there was like subliminal messaging within that documentary they watched, because I didn't have any of those things. And the only reason was I didn't, stay and watch that same thing that they did. So I feel like there was a lot of subliminal messaging going on, because Tony preaches being pescatarian, fueling your body the correct way with the right nutrients is also going to help elevate your life.
Yeah, and see, when I went, it was keto.
Wow.
He was talking about keto, then he had keto experts, and then he also has supplements and stuff that, like, Tony has supplements and stuff that he sells as well, and so he'll talk about those too. So
I was going to just ask if he
Wow.
owned a catfish and shrimp farm because he's pushing pescatarianism. I was going to say, we're going to find out we got a Tony Robbins shrimp plate. Yeah.
Right? There's a special at the Bubblegum Shrimp. If you want, you can get the Tony Robbins special. That's actually a really fantastic point into the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is Stephen Hassan's influence continuum. And I think a lot of people don't know about the influence continuum, but it does go with the bite model. And it is a really great sort of spectrum to look at to see if you might be under cultic control. A lot of us we leave a cult and we inadvertently join another one, whether it's an MLM or an abusive relationship or an abusive group that maybe you're hanging out with and you didn't understand, and you sort of, it feels comfortable and you just kind of go right into it. And that's sort of what this whole influence continuum is. I'm going to pop this up, add it to the stream and show everybody. So in the influence continuum, no happiness or fulfillment possible outside the group, terrible consequences if you leave, health, demon possession, incurable diseases, accidents, suicide, the whole shebang, right? Like, this is some of the stuff that'll happen to you when you leave these groups. But if we look here for individuals, you can see that on the left, it is the constructive or healthy relationship. And on the right, it is the destructive or unhealthy relationship. And I think even if you look at this, you can go through any relationship that you're in or any MLM that you were in, and you can really understand, oh, well, wow, like, I know that I'm working towards my most authentic self now, because I felt like when I was in my MLM, I didn't feel real. And that's the first one up there, right? Working our way over to the left side to our authentic self, which also includes unconditional love, which is something that I try to do as much as possible, being very compassionate and empathetic towards people, giving them unconditional love so that they feel safe when escaping these sort of things. Compassion, having a conscience, right? That's the whole sociopath thing as well. Creativity and humor, and free will and critical thinking. Whereas the opposite in any sort of high demand relationship or high demand personality that you may be embodying, you're fake, you're culty, you have conditional love, you have transactional relationships. I'm not going to do anything for you and do something for me. Everything that I present to you has a condition behind it. There's a lot of hate. There's doctrine, which are rules. They have, guilt and fear and dependency, obedience for that person or for that group. And if you work your way down, we get to leaders. And we can use this as an example, Erin, because you know her so well. We look here at these leaders who are these cult leaders, MLM leaders, team leaders. And over on the healthy side, you have psychologically healthy. And on the destructive, unhealthy side, you have a narcissistic psychopath. And so as you go down this list, and this is on Stephen's website too, if you go down this list, you really can see it. It's very important, I think, that we do understand that it is a spectrum, and not everybody's going to be completely on the right or the left, and most people are going to fall somewhere in the middle. But it's important when examining the relationships that you're in and the influence that you have in your life, where do those people fall on this continuum? So let's talk about that.
You want me to talk about that?
Yes, please. My computer's being weird right now.
Before I even say anything, this is all based on my opinion. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I mean, let's just look at I immediately went to leaders, right? So on the healthy side, we have psychologically healthy, knows own limits, empowers individuals, trustworthy, accountable. One of the things that I have seen with said individual over the years is the lack of accountability. Majorly, nothing is ever her fault. It is always people that, it's their fault. They did this. What an idiot. They must have not wanted to have $1 million business. And I'm just throwing out some things I can actually, I'm thinking of specific examples of people where she goes on the attack because it's not her fault. Right. So, but then on the other side of it, narcissistic, psychopathic, I mean, I'm not in a place that I can diagnose that, but as far as tendencies, I would say, yeah, we see love bombing, we see smear campaigns, we definitely see fair gaming, which kind of is along the lines of fair gaming. And the really interesting thing is within the smear campaigns and the fair gaming is trying to discredit somebody that had a very real experience, like I was a part of her inner circle. So the things that I am saying and sharing are things that happened. So trying to discredit that story has been really fascinating to watch. The elitist, the example or grandiose thoughts. So, I'm the #1 network marketer in the world. Bro, where? Where? Cite your sources. Where is this coming from? Oh, I am not going to verify that. I'm not putting my income. Meanwhile, on the next Instagram live or TikTok live, she's talking about how she made 6 million. Bro, where? Cite your sources, right? Power hungry. We definitely see that. You're going to do what I want you to do, or I'm going to exile you. And by the way, for those of you that have been exiled, this is me shouting you out. Secretive, deceptive, absolutely yes. I'm going to block you, but I'm going to have all my people watch you and screen record you. And then I'm going to put stories up that are just for my close friends on Instagram, like I'm doing something. Nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. Claims absolute authority. Absolutely. One of the very first times that I saw her claim absolute authority, again, in my opinion, was when there was a leader that wanted to have her own groups and wanted to do her own thing and wanted to lead in her own way. And as a leader, that is a beautiful thing. How can I support you in leading your people in a way that feels right to you? That is leadership. However, what she did was she went on the attack and she went after this person's team members and started to influence their view on that leader and exiled her from everything, blocked her from everything. And that was the first time. And now that has become standard practice for her. Again, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. It literally proof. I mean, I feel like even just showing this, people are like, yep. I can think of the people that I was underneath in MLM and the way that things handled and were handled, and it all falls on this as well. So there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about before. I know some people have to leave, and Brenna had to leave, so she did say bye. Let me pull us all up here again. Here's something that I wanted to share with you guys. This is, oh my God, this is a video from a doTERRA meeting. You might want to adjust your sound. I can't control the sound on it, but I'm going to add it to the stream and it's immediately going to play and we are going to watch. And if you've seen it, you can definitely dance along. But we are going to watch all of these doTERRA ladies. When we say how high, they say, when I say jump, they say how high. Here we go. Ready? Everybody Ready, go. Yeah.
What?
I don't know if I went the right way.
Yeah, so that was, for whatever reason, them swimming in a pool in their matching pajamas.
Yeah. What was it
I mean,
that
super fun
Danielle
and
said
culty.
this morning? What in the handmade hell?
Yeah, what in the handmade hell is that?
You know that one lady that sat down on the edge and scooted in and didn't jump? She's probably already been fired and shunned.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Alonda. What was that?
Oh, I wanted to give an example of how we were talking about the continuum. Ash Mufara, who is the person who created On Passive, he has literally said that he has been put here by the hand of God to save the planet. And that may explain why there's all these songs venerating him. So, I mean, it's deep, deep, deep when it comes to On Passive in terms of culty tactics and everything. So I just wanted to throw that on out there.
Well, and that feeds into this idea of collective delusion, right?
Sorry, I'm trying to share this, but I possibly can talk about the video.
No.
Sorry, I'm trying to and the wind is really messing with my everything, and everything's kind of lagging right now on me. So I apologize. Continue, Megan.
No, so like when we talk some cult leaders, right? A lot of them suffer from some delusional disorders. And what happens when you have the buy-in from people, it's that collective consciousness, that group think, that shared delusion. And it's super fascinating how that works, and how, you know, people will find stuff that aligns with their delusion to prove that their delusion is correct. And I think that that's kind of what Alana's describing there, because that does not sound like healthy psychological anything.
It's absolutely wild. And this video right here is from the Monate convention or leadership or whatever it was that they had just recently. I joke that it's at the Scottsdale Marriott. I don't know where it's at, but let's watch this video of what they were doing at this MLM convention in the resort's pool.
From the dead, you will be saved.
Can you guys hear?
Are they baptizing people?
Yeah, this is horrifying.
As an Arizonan, I want to say that
Yes.
we do not sanction people doing that here.
Yes, they are
Megan's like, I
performing
speak on behalf
baptisms.
of Arizona.
Yeah, they are performing
Andrea said-
baptisms for a
Andrea said
shampoo
so.
company.
So you get dunked and then they go ahead and scrub your hair for you and while you're down there, or
No,
It's a
'cause
hair
chlorine is
washing
actually
party.
horrible for your hair.
that drain
Yeah,
is so
chlorine's
full
actually
of people's
horrible for
hair
your
that
hair.
it's falling out of their head like it's probably clogged.
I think God probably removed the chlorine from the water, probably, I assume.
Look,
Andrea
and here's
said,
the
is
other
that a
thing.
pool of Rejuvenique?
It's probably a saltwater pool. Most of the resorts in Scottsdale,
Here's
because it is in
this.
Scottsdale, by the way, most of the resorts here have salt water. Just weird facts.
So, as
Yeah,
someone
that's faith manipulation.
So a lot of people probably know this because I say it all the time, and I don't mean to oversay it, but as someone, like, I have a degree in cross-cultural studies focusing on religion. I have a master's degree in theology and ministry. As someone who knows a lot about this is the and if anyone is spiritual, or if anyone's a Christian, or if anyone's in religion, this is the most manipulative tactic that you can do to someone. Getting an MLM and literally interweaving it with their identity, with their, I mean, someone's religion and someone's, spirituality. It is often the most important thing to them. And not only are the MLMs, culty, but now what they're doing is they're taking their MLM and making it hard to distinguish what is MLM and what is my spirituality, my religion. And it, to me, in my opinion, is the most hurtful thing that you can do to a person, and will be the most confusing thing for someone to have to break apart once they leave.
I just gotta say, I went through something like this when I was in Beachbody, because as a person who grew up Catholic and is now a Reformed Catholic, I've left the church. When I was in Beachbody, we had specific training from John Maxwell, who was a former preacher and pastor. He was chosen to specifically mentor our team because, like, the founding member of my team, who was at the tippy top, she was like one of his personal friends and disciples. And I was doing everything correctly according to them to grow my business. But when I hit that stagnant spot, I was like, I was thinking, like, what am I not doing that everybody else is doing? And for all of them, it was their faith in God and in Jesus that was helping to carry them through this. So, and listening to what John Maxwell was saying and how faith was such an important part of what we do, and that God put it on your heart to share this opportunity with people. I remember searching for churches in my area, thinking maybe if I just incorporate this, that'll be the change. And as I'm talking to my husband about this, he's like, Amber, what are you doing? Like, this is not you, at all. He's like, I think you just need to calm down here, because it's not that serious. And I know I've told Roberta this before, my husband was as supportive as he could be until he couldn't be anymore. And even now, I'm sure he's home now, but I'm sure when I walk out there and he'll be like, oh, I heard what you're talking about. I told you so. Just he always tried to tell me, but
sounds like a suppressive person.
It was so I was basing all my actions on, if I just do this, then this is what is going to be, the thing that changes everything for me. So, I mean,
at Paparazzi's most recent convention, they had religious motivational speakers. They had a panel of their elite who got up and gave literal religious testimony about how God had created their wealth for them. And as recently as 2 weeks ago, they had a national paparazzi prayer service on Zoom where there were 500 people praying together. But what they were praying for is that my anti-paparazzi group would have our hands bound and our mouths bound, because we are sent by the devil. We are sent by the great liar to trick them all into believing that their faith-based company is evil. So they're actually having a prayer group against me. My daughter got on a video wearing a pair of red devil horns she had from Halloween, because Satan, big on, they rebuked us, rebuke you. I rebuke you in the name of the Lord. I rebuke you. I've been rebuked. I'm feeling all right. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm supposed
Caroline.
to do. I feel okay.
Yeah.
I'm feeling all right, but yeah.
Something that is so crucial, and And it goes across, you know, not just faith manipulation, but that I've seen so important for faith manipulation. If we can just get people to stop and think, just to step out of the building that they're in and get a fresh breath of air and go, look at other businesses that are real, right? Like other, I don't know, literally anything. Maybe working in a hospital or working at Apple, just anything. Would they do that? Well, no, they wouldn't. And the goal for me and for my content in general is just to get someone to stop and think for 1 second, because they aren't in the, they don't have the, not that they don't have the ability, but they don't really when they're in this culty situation, especially when it comes to faith manipulation, because they feel as though that they will be going against God if they stop and think, which is the ultimate, you know, the ultimate sin and all of that stuff. And it's just horrifying to think about for me.
It's disgusting. And here's the other thing. So thank you so much for talking Bite Model, talking influence continuum. There's one other thing that we wanted to talk about at the end. That's been happening for the past couple days. It's very sad and concerning. I actually planned to have this chat before most of this stuff even came into my circle of me knowing what was going on. And so again, it's like you put it out into the universe and the universe provides. This is the kind of law of attraction I'm into. I say, hey, let's talk about the Bite Model. And then the anti-MLM community and the MLM community gives me so many examples of real life instances happening right now. So it's very dangerous what's happening. We have some people who have been victims of doxing, victims of having their personal information shared, their personal photos shared. There are people that are starting smear campaigns. There are chat groups that I have seen of shit talking people for literally no other than personal vendettas. It's wild, y'all. It's absolutely wild. I have no idea what's going on. I'm going to chalk it up to Mercury. I literally have never seen this much infighting, this much gatekeeping. It's in the last 3 weeks, maybe month. It has been insane. The things that I have seen. And I keep my mouth shut because I'm not about the drama. But it's happening, and it's gotten to the point where now the FBI is involved. So we're going to talk about it. So there's a lot of things that people are doing to fair game us. Well, it's illegal what these would you like to, we can talk about what happened yesterday if you want, Amber? What the 12 hours that we had yesterday, you and I, we talked a lot yesterday. There was yes, the FBI. There was some stuff. So there was a woman, and we're actually going to put her GoFundMe in the chat if anybody would like to share. I don't know if anybody can pull that up and throw that in the comments. That would be lovely. There's a woman. Her name is Lauren. She sells for money. She was in, unfortunately, a motorcycle accident that fatally took her boyfriend. And she was in a coma up until a few days ago. And one of the first things she did publicly coming out of that coma, unfortunately, and again, this is all that we're talking about with the Bite Model, right? If you want to do this, that's fine. If that's your own choice and your own consent to do things, that's fine. What we literally talk about today is that that's not the case. It's companies. So this woman got on her Instagram stories and made a video about selling Monet. She was not given any time to grieve or heal before feeling as if she needed to share the opportunity. And that happens a lot. And that happened to Amber when Amber was in MLM. And so our friend Mallory made a video saying, hey, look, like, this is the cult stuff we talk about. Like, this poor woman, this is what's happening. Misplaced anger, misplaced aggression. They came after Mallory. And then Amber made a video sharing Mallory's video and then adding her own thing in about how she had been in the hospital, how she had done this too, how this is what MLMs do to you. Those women didn't watch Amber's video. They just attacked Amber. They created a fake TikTok account. They followed a bunch of the anti-MLM community on TikTok. I made a TikTok about it. I said, block this person. Their account was named MLM Bullies. And they started sharing Mallory's content, Amber's content. They put Amber's personal home address. They doxed her. They said, send all complaints about MLM to this address and put Amber's home address. They went after Mallory. They started harassing her place of business. She is so wonderful and lucky to have an amazing supportive place of business. And they were very understanding about the harassment, unfortunately, that happened. And Mallory's incredible. And I didn't see any bullying at all in this. It was all educational, bringing things to the forefront and saying, this is what's happening. This is where it's in the bite model. This is how it's a cult tactic. This is what MLMs do. Do not fall trap to this. You don't have to be selling shampoo while you're recovering from this. It's unnecessary. And that was just one instance. And so yesterday that happened. So Amber, I'm going to let you sort of take the reins, because even though I was there for you for moral support, you were the one that got the majority of this done. So I want you to tell that story, because I told you last night, I was all, you're the fucking queen right now, babe.
Yeah. So like, it was just so funny to me, because you literally messaged me like an hour before I discovered this and was like, hey, if you're free tomorrow, you want to come and, on the show and talk about this. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. And then like barely an hour later, my oldest was home from school and she was like, Mom, what is this? And she showed me the TikTok, because they followed my child on TikTok. She doesn't like post videos or anything. She just has a TikTok to, just watch the videos and everything. And her account is private. But they had requested to follow her. And she was like, the TikTok said, here to support Dio, Jacob Nysather and Amber Nysather in the anti-MLM movement. And they were using my husband's picture. So I don't know how they found like our last name, because I don't use it anywhere. I abbreviate it, obviously. But I was like, well, hang on a second. Let me see what's going on. And I didn't make my husband aware of this because I didn't want him to have to worry about it. But I was seeing they had specifically first posted the videos of Mallory. And then they started posting videos like from my story. They were commenting on the TikTok that I had made, stitching Mallory's video of the girl in the hospital. Because I was sharing my story because I had went through something similar when I was diagnosed with my rare lung disease that caused my lung to collapse after I had surgery to repair my lung collapsing. I was in a hospital bed trying to sell my Beachbody products. So I related to that, and I just wanted to kind of show how just like crazy these companies have us, and like delusional they have us in our worst of times, thinking that if we can just continue to sell our the products that it's going to answer our problems that we're going through. And then I shared it on my Instagram, and then that's when her friends started coming and like saying I was so wrong and and that I needed to remove any images of her, which I used no images of her. Like the stitch part of it was like 5 seconds. And yeah, I was talking to Chelsea about it because I know she had dealt with this before. But yeah, so that was like the night before this had happened. And I kind of had a feeling of who it was because her sister had messaged me to ask me personally if I would remove the video. And if I wasn't going to remove the video, then if I could just turn off the comments. So I was like, I didn't use any of her information. I didn't even know her name until her friends personally outed her and her social media channels. You know, I didn't know her name. And that's when I updated my post to share her GoFundMe, because I'm like, we're just here. We don't want her to have to sell her shampoo from her ICU bed. And somehow, some way, they found my information. They found my home address. They found my husband and his profession, because he's a physician. So because I don't technically have a job they could go after, they decided to go after my husband, and they were using that as an intimidation tactic to try to get me to take down my video, which I did nothing wrong. And it was purely an educational video about my own story, which they clearly didn't watch to, if they would have watched it, to understand that. But of course, when, you know, they're all in that same sort of mentality. And so we kind of did some digging. Me and Roberta were just kind of, they were kind of sloppy with their anonymity and trying to remain anonymous in this. And I had people like mass reporting the account. But I had a feeling the sister said it was not her. And she said she would try to figure out who it was, because the sister herself said that she didn't feel that my video was all that bad. So she had got on the TikTok and said, hey, this is not me. I don't know who's doing this, but I didn't have a problem with Amber's video. So we kind of figured out how, who it possibly was. And so I kind of played their own game, and I followed the people who I thought it was. And I had posted in my Instagram stories that, hey, I'm getting close. I'm pretty sure I know who you are. You know, it is illegal to dox somebody across state lines. This is a federal offense. And the one friend is apparently a lawyer, and she randomly messaged me and was like, hey girl, I have seen what's happening. Like, this is so crazy. I'm so sorry you are going through this. And I was like, oh, hey, yeah, let's chat real quick. Why don't we? And I was like, hey, you know, so what have you been up to today? Anything fun? And I was just kind of being, you know, a little sassy about it. And she's, you know, she was like, oh, I saw what was you're going through. And I mentioned like, yeah, I've been dealing with this. I've had to make an FBI report, because I was like, I'm sure, you know, you're a lawyer. I'm sure you know that this is illegal for someone to do and post somebody's home address. And then I mentioned that my landlord works for the DEA, which he does. And I was like, I'm talking with my landlord. He works for the DEA. He has some connections at the local FBI office here in Cincinnati. I was like, I guess that's just a perk of living in a very large urban city. So yeah, I was like, we're gonna get this figured out. And she didn't answer me after that. And about an hour later, she messaged me back, and this is what she said. Let's see, where is it? She said, I just had a FaceTime with Elle, the girl in the hospital bed, and she obviously isn't happy about what is happening to you or the teacher lady, meaning Mallory, and asked that all of us friends block and remove any comments relating to everything. I reached out to the person who I believe is in charge of the TikTok account and asked them to please remove it, or at least your personal information. It shouldn't have gone this far, and she is sorry. And after it was maybe an hour or two after that, all the videos had been removed and the account completely was deleted. So, I mean, it took some work, but we got it done. And I think just leading with more compassion and empathy and really trying to kind of break down whatever walls they had in their thinking and their thought process kind of really helped to get that done.
Yeah, it was really wild. And like Amber would send me a message and she's like, can you still see? So I'd have to unblock them and see what I could see. And I was like, they've turned all the comments off. That's weird. Well, they didn't turn the comments on this one video. And they were literally playing games with us. And again, like we didn't know exactly who it was, but we have a pretty good idea. I feel like we're at least 1 degree away if we don't have the right person. They were very sloppy in their anonymity. And Amber and I got all their things. Including a map to where they lived, where they had like, it was wild. I was like, well, we know where they live, so we can contact that FBI.
Yeah, because the sister, to prove to me that it wasn't her, she sent me her recently deleted files in her camera roll. And like, I was like, well, I can see my TikTok account. Like,
they were all pictures of Amber
there. It was all pictures of like me and Mallory. I had seen like a video that was deleted that was obviously the screen recording from my stories that they had posted, and like it was a map, there was a map to her home, and like we pinpointed it. We're like, oh, it's within this area in California. And but I think once I mentioned, you know, my landlord being in the DEA and having the FBI connections, that really fucking scared them. And they were like, oh, you know what? Maybe we messed with the wrong person. So, because I've been on the internet a long time. So I was like, please, like, I was just thinking, like, they don't realize, like, who they're messing with. And, like, they've obviously underestimated my internet, like, sleuthing prowess and abilities and the connections that I actually have. So, I mean, if anybody wants to try it again, please, I beg them to try, because the FBI will get involved. And I have that,
absolutely,
you know, in my back pocket with my landlord. He loves us. He's a very nice man. We are very good tenants, and we take good care of his house. So I have you know, he would absolutely help me in that if I needed it in that aspect. So
it's crazy. That happened. And then I got a phone call last night from a lovely couple who just needed to tell me some things and ask if I would just listen to what was going through them, what was happening to them. We talked on the phone for about an hour. They sent me screenshots of things that are happening to them. These are people that are former paparazzi reps that were part of exposing things. They are now being harassed by what we believe to be paparazzi people. Again, it's over state lines, so it is a federal jurisdiction, and it is FBI. And cyberbullying, cyberstalking, doxing, revenge porn, all of these things are very, very illegal. They found personal photos, and they made a graphic that they censored in certain areas and are sharing anytime these people go live to sell their things. They are starting Facebook groups, Facebook chats where they are talking about these people, spreading lies about them. It is absolutely disgusting. It is absolutely cult behavior. And it's sad because not all of the people engaging in this behavior are actually still in paparazzi. Some of them are former people that are, doing this as well. And it's really hurtful because everybody in the anti-MLM community, whether you are an educator, a content creator, an advocate, an activist, someone that's got boots on the ground, somebody that's whatever you're doing, like, we are all on the same side. We're all on the same side. All we want is to help people understand what these companies are and to help them make the decisions and give them the resources to make their best decisions for themselves. I don't get anything if you leave your MLM. Anything if you stay. Nothing. Zero. There's no money. Nothing. There's no fame. There's no anything. I do this because I help people. I like to help people. And I think the majority of the people in the anti-MLM community feel that way as well. We do this and we take our time out of our day, which is very valuable, by the way. My time is valuable. That was the whole thing, being in anti-MLM and not being paid being in MLM and not being paid what I was worth when I did the hourly. I think it's important, and maybe we should have an episode on your worth and knowing your worth and knowing what you're worth and knowing, your self-worth. That might be a really interesting topic to have, but it's not okay. We either work together or we work against each other, and division in this movement will destroy it. And the other thing is people will see it, because I already get so many messages from people going, what's going on? And I say, I have absolutely no idea. I really don't. I really have no idea what's going on. So,
but some people leave their MLM and say they're going to go into anti-MLM because they had a bad experience with their former company, but never left the mindset behind. And unfortunately, our Recovering Paparazzi Consultants group has a bunch of folks who are ex-consultants now, but have turned the experience of being an ex-consultant into a process that's very similar to what they did when they were still a consultant. And we this week have had a huge shakeup in the group because people who were not positively impacting the mission of exposing paparazzi were removed from some positions of influence and went on an anti Recovering Paparazzi Consultants campaign and have been trying to destroy our Recovering Paparazzi Consultants group. So I saw Megan holding her book up, and I do think that there are people who were not ready to step into an advocacy role or an activist role because they hadn't healed from what had happened to them personally. And instead of using their upset in a positive way, they've decided to, I guess, strike out at the people that have disappointed them and haven't made their ex-paparazzi experiences into what they thought it should be. So I spent last night and this morning refunding people who had made donations to our testing campaign because my former I guess, partner in crime in our Tea Time broadcast decided to go into Clubhouse and cry to everybody that I had yanked my friendship away from her and she hadn't done anything when she tried to speak to me about us misappropriating the funds we had collected, and that my daughter was manipulative and a psychopath. And, she'd been diagnosed with a mental illness. So we were pretty sure that she was running everything and she was a problem. So they attacked my kid, attacked my character, and tried to destroy my group because I refused to let them operate our Recovering Paparazzi Consultants group like a fan club for them. So everybody's not okay, even if they look okay. They've still got the same behaviors. They're just now using them to gather, I guess, support for whatever their personality is now versus what their money-making scheme was then. So you can't recruit people into an organization that isn't paying anybody any money, but sometimes they just miss the accolades. These people used to scream about their former elite status and how great they were. I was the number one. I was this, I was that. Well, you're not now, and it doesn't matter. If you're really trying to get over what the company put you through, why are you still so thrilled about what the company put you through? Why are you still bragging about it, boo?
Yeah, and I made a point. Yeah, I made a point to say to these people, whoever was attacking this woman, they are not representative of me and what I am doing in this anti-MLM movement, and what the other people I know who are doing this for the correct reason to help these people, because they are the victims here, and we're trying to protect them and help them leave these commercial cults. So whoever was doing those attacks on Lauren, I checked, I was like, they're not a follower of mine. And I don't endorse that. I don't endorse harassing of, these representatives and coaches and distributors whatsoever, because I'm very big against, being anti-bully. And, that's just not what I am about, and I know that everybody here is not about. So I just wish like there was a more like cohesive front on when it comes to the anti-MLM movement, because that's what's causing things like this to happen. You know, us people who are trying to do the right thing are the ones that are getting doxxed and threatened and harassed. And I really wanted them to know that all I wanted to do was, you know, to help her. And I hope that she realized that those of us, you know, only wanted her to be okay. And that's why we shared her GoFundMe. And I'm hoping now they realize that. But last night I still had a girl commenting on my TikTok who was saying that you know, no, she has a community of us standing behind her, da 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 da, to bring down you, you bully ass bitches, basically. And I was like, are you sure that she wants that? Because I was specifically told by her family and best friends that she wants you all to stop. So you're really the ones that are bringing more stress to her life right now. Like, these were her wishes, and I posted the TikTok, I posted the receipts, and then that girl blocked me because obviously I proved her very much wrong. But she was like, oh, because when I said, you know, I could report you to the FBI as well if you would like. And she was like, oh, haha, the FBI, go eat some Skyline. Like that was an insult or something. If you don't know Cincinnati.
Chili Mac.
Yes.
I live in northern Kentucky, so I'm a Dixie chili girl myself. But
yes,
so I mean, all right with your Skyline.
Can I tell you all a little bit about what's happening in all of that? So like Tracy and Amber and all of it. So what happens when we live in our stress response and our midbrain? I'm going to have a brain nerd moment. So some of you that need to tune out because you have to tune out. So we've got three parts of our brain. We've got our logic brain, we've got our emotional brain, and up tucked underneath it is our stress response, or our midbrain, which is where our emotional processing kind of happens. And it's what gives things significance. So when we talk about people who are indoctrinated, who've been manipulated, who are, you know, immersed in these bite model tactics, they're living in their amygdala. They're living in that midbrain stress response. So they're not logical. Nothing that you're hearing is logical because it's not. It's coming from a different part of the brain that processes information differently. And what happens when people get done being traumatized is that their stress response is going to be overactive. It's going to stay open. It's going to be primary to the way that they function. So they perceive everything as a threat. Everything is the tiger in the room because their brain is so overwired in that way. And what we have to do when we remove ourselves from these types of situations, and this is true of people in domestic violence situations, emotionally abusive situations, all of it, what we have to do is we have to get that central nervous system, that parasympathetic central nervous system, to calm down. It has to calm down. Otherwise, anytime somebody comes at us, we take it personally. They're attacking me, right? And that's what we see. And what happens when people get done being bamboozled and they're not really sure who they are or what's connecting, we need to get the cognitive processing, the emotional processing plugged back in together. And they need to start talking to each other. And so the midbrain kind of acts as that translator between the two functions. When that translator goes offline, they're not talking to each other at all. So stuff is going straight to the midbrain for processing instead of coming into this logic portion of our brain that actually does our normal processing. So knowing that anger is a part of grief, anger is a part of trauma response. People don't understand that. They think that trauma responses don't include anger. And especially, I don't know, men, anger is an acceptable emotion. For women, most of us are taught that anger is an unacceptable emotion for us to feel. When it comes from that amygdala place, it's because these people are still thinking that they are unsafe. We have to get our brains to a place of safety before we can adequately process. And that's why some of the stuff that takes more the line of shaming and bullying and all of that anger, some of that is cathartic for people, but we can't live in it. Because if we live in it, we keep our amygdala activated, and we need to shut it down to have an appropriate stress response, because that's what's happening.
Thank you, Megan. That is actually explains a lot. It's there's a lot of trauma here, and there's a lot of mental health that needs to be worked through. I highly recommend Megan's book. I think it's really great. I'm actually working through it myself. And that's why a lot of times I see this stuff and I go, oh, we need to talk about this, because it's not to point fingers and it's not to be like, you're bad, because you're not. All of us here are learning. We're leaving high demand groups. We're finding our place outside of high demand groups. And it can be really traumatizing and difficult. And we're a team. We're a community. Like, I know that my inbox is open. I try to talk to as many people that I can and help them. And I know that everybody up here on the panel is the same. And it's so important that we create this community and that we understand that it's not so black and white, and that everything doesn't have to be us versus them, left or right, red or blue. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that. In fact, coming away from those extremes and finding yourself in a more moderate place where you can actually look at other people and say, I don't necessarily agree with everything you say, but you do make some interesting points. And I've actually thought about something I maybe never would have thought about before. So thank you. You didn't really change my mind, but you opened my eyes to a different perspective. And that's great. If we always live in like light and dark, there's so many shades of gray and so many nuances to life that we're going to miss out on. And it's really, really important for all of us to understand that and to grow together, because we're all here for the same reasons. We all were in horrible situations, and we're trying to understand what it was that happened to us, why it happened to us, how it happened to us. And then once we see that the emperor is wearing no clothes, we're able to then go, hey, did you see that the emperor's not wearing any clothes? And help others. And if the true like goal here is to eradicate multi-level marketing, is to educate people so they start joining them, educate people so they can see these, why be perpetuating the same ones in this community? It needs to be about freedom and choices and your own opinion and your own personality and your own things. We're not in a cult anymore. We're not. This is not a cult. You can come and go as you please. As very evident of all the people coming and going on the live. I get message, I gotta go. No problem, bye. It's all about the community and growing together. I love doing these chats because I learn something new every time. I love talking to people because they bring perspectives that I never thought of before. And that's, to me, that's the anti-MLM community. That's the one that I've been trying to grow and foster for years. And for me, you know, I mean, that's how I feel about it. I don't know. How do you guys feel about it as we wrap this? I don't know if anybody's really complaining except the people that had to go.
I mean, I love what you pointed out. We're all different. I love what Chelsea said. We don't all have to do the same thing. We shouldn't all do the same thing. We all can act and present things on with the way we do best, right? We all have different gifts. We all have different talents, and we all work best in different areas. And I love what Dave said so much. The difference between community and cult, we are all not the same, but we all still come together for a cause. And I 100% agree with that. I know that for some people, it's hard to step out of that mindset of like the cult mindset of we're all doing the same thing, like fighting each other and pushing against each other. No, we're all doing the same thing to help and boost each other and to help other people. We're all here to work together and not, I don't know, push each other away from the truth and the most important part, which is helping people get out of MLMs and educating people on MLMs. So.
Excellent points, JJ. I really appreciate your perspective. Amber, do you have anything to add?
No, like I completely agree with everything you guys said. Because I mean, I'm more of a like smaller creator when it comes to anti-MLM stuff right now. But I feel like, my message isn't, is just as equal as important to share as just as everybody else's. And I think, if we just continue to, prop each other up and support each other, then all of our messages are going to get to the ears that need to hear it. And I think that's really just the most important part of what we are doing is shedding light and telling the truth so people can, notice those red flags so they don't enter an MLM, or they start seeing the red flags so they can finally start the process of leaving them.
Yes, absolutely. You guys are so smart and wonderful. I love it. Tracy, do you have something to add?
I think that the worst mistake that people make at the very beginning of leaving their culty MLM is to jump back into another group and dedicate the same amount of time, energy, and focus to the exact opposite of that without taking time to center themselves and realize maybe how they were vulnerable to that kind of manipulation previously, so that they're aware if they are being, let's just say, recruited into another emotionally manipulative situation, whether it be another MLM or a group who is gathering together to fight that company. Because I feel like some people have come into our Recovering Paparazzi Consultants group with the same mindset of how they're going to be anti-paparazzi as they were pro-paparazzi. And healing yourself and your vulnerabilities and the damage you sustain should be your first priority. And whatever you want to do to help educate the world about why the company is a bad place to be should be second. So when we started the group, we called it Recovering Paparazzi Consultants because we all realized we had something to recover from. It was traumatic, the experience. Not everybody experienced the same level of trauma, but we were all victims of the same MLM. So our first goal is always, what can we do to help you through this part? This, I don't know what happened to me, where the hell am I, how did I get here part? And when you're ready to go to the next step, which is, let's make sure this can happen to as few more people as possible by educating, giving people alternative perspectives so they can see how dangerous the company is to deal with, that should be second. So coming out of one and going right into the other, I feel like people think the company is the problem and not the MLM culture. And just because you had a bad experience in one company, it must be the company. And somebody out there must be a better company. And it can't just be that, because I couldn't have been so stupid. I couldn't be that dumb that I fell for it. It must be the company, not the culture. Nobody's stupid. We just heard somebody speak about how Tony Robbins, for example, uses subliminal messaging. You don't even realize you're being manipulated because you go into it for one thing and your brain is being attacked for something else. You have no defense to something you're not aware of. If you were told you were being emotionally manipulated, and oh, by the way, we're also going to send some subliminal messaging into you, welcome, you wouldn't go. It's the fact that they lie and the fact that they are false that you are the victim of, not your choice to try to enter into a business. So just know that your first and most important goal should be to close off whatever had you open to the idea in the first place. Talk to other people, see how they've gotten past it. Find friends that you can laugh at. I have likened this in the group so many times to like the VFW. All people who were veterans of foreign wars. Anybody from any conflict was welcome at the Veterans of Foreign Wars. People went to all different parts of the world. They served in all different branches of the military. They saw all different levels of combat. But they had all been part of the system, and they were all welcome there. And that is what we wanted, like, the anti-MLM community to be, especially our Recovering Paparazzi Consultants group to be. No matter how much or how little time you spent there, you're welcome here. When you're out, you're welcome here. Let's move you forward to something else. And I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact that it isn't their weakness. It's an industry problem. You are not a flawed human. This is a terrible business practice. You are a victim of terrible business practices. You're not stupid. So when you hear the same messages from somebody who's out of MLM, you feel drawn to them because it sounds so familiar, because some of them are still using the same culty techniques to gather support for whatever they're, attempting to promote now. It isn't, I shouldn't say it isn't safe. It's just, that isn't the point. Like, our focus is educating on this industry, how it's bad, and what we can do to move past it. And if you make some friends along the way, phenomenal. We're not making fun of people who are in MLMs. We're not making fun of people who are out of MLMs and aren't sure how that happened and don't want to talk badly about their past company. Some people just want to move on. They're like, oh God, I did that. It's like, I drank too much the night before. I just want to forget about that boy I kissed on the dance floor, right? We're just not going to talk about that. It didn't happen. Not everybody wants to go to the next level and support it. That doesn't mean they're against you either. Just because everybody in your former downline doesn't now want to join your campaign doesn't mean they're bad people and against you either. Everybody's trauma response to this is so strong. The further away you are from it, the better able you are to look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, this is more manipulation here and more manipulation there. I wish there were more programs like Megan's book to talk about how psychologically damaging it can be to have your eyes opened and have your blinders ripped off after you either leave or get kicked out of an MLM, because I got kicked out of mine. I wasn't ready to go. I was like, what happened here? Yeah. So I don't think most people give themselves the chance to heal personally before they jump into something else, because they're just looking for what's familiar, like anybody else does when they've had a trauma. That's why they give children comfort animals, stuffed animals in the hospital, right? You're just trying to give them something they recognize so that they can cuddle up to that and they're not so scared.
Really quickly, I just want to say I use this example a lot in my YouTube videos. When we show trainings, when we show top leaders, when we show this and that, what we're doing is we're showing what we're saying. So I say like a research paper. You don't write your research paper and say, hey, look, I learned all this. And your teacher goes, where are your sources? And you say, I don't have any. If we're going to say that it's a manipulative industry, if we're going to say that all these things are going on, we have to show the proof of it. And so when people go and say, you're bullying, you're doing this, blah, 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 blah. No, if we're going to say this, we have to show the proof. And if we weren't showing the proof, you would say, where's the proof? So.
Absolutely. Megan, is there anything else that you want to add before we close this up?
So the biggest thing that I ever say is that, one of the things that we tend to do is we tend to compare, right? And that whole idea that comparison is the thief of joy. That's one of my platitudes that I'd always hear all the time, right? But it's true. One of the things that I think is crucial is that when you look at something, and if you're in a company and you look at something, my experience wasn't like that, or I didn't have it that bad, so it must be their company, or it must just be the company, those kind of things, right? What we have to remember is that trauma is trauma is trauma. And it's not the pain Olympics, and no one person's bad experience was worse than other. Like, it all impacts us differently. But what it also does is it convinces us that it isn't real. And it tells us all these things because shame is a powerful, powerful, powerful emotion. And I can't say that enough. This idea that, I've seen in the comments, I felt so stupid. I felt so dumb. You know what? Like, this industry has been fine-tuning what it does for decades. You are no match for an industry that has conned our governmental leaders into believing in it. Master manipulators who have honed their craft all this time. You have to remember that we all have vulnerabilities, and we do have to heal those underlying vulnerabilities that existed. And people will say, well, I just did it for the money. Again, that drilling down into your why, the money piece. So financial security, or feeling like I'm not good enough because I don't have X, Y, and Z car, or my house isn't big enough, or I can't go on all these things that I see other people doing. That is a vulnerability, this idea that I'm not good enough. And I want to be very clear that everybody who sees this, you are good enough just the way you are. If you are the best version of yourself today, no matter what that looks like, you are good enough. And some days we aren't given as much to work with as others, right? Some days we're on a low emotional bandwidth, but you are good enough. No matter what the rest of the world wants to tell you, I'm going to tell you that you are good enough, you are important, you are valuable, and you don't need an MLM to tell you that.
This is unnecessary. You don't need to do this, Jamie. We're all on the same team. And this is cultic control. I don't like making examples, but we've already asked several times. So anyway, we're literally hating on it. It's happening in the comments. Not surprised. This is literally what we're talking about. We are all on the same team. We are all here to educate.
Yeah.
And guess what? Not everybody is 100% MLM, and that's okay. Some people have questions. Some people have concerns. Some people don't know what to do next because everything is in that basket. And so they can't leave yet, but they're asking questions and they're figuring things out and they're making moves so that they can change. This is a chess game. It's not checkers. It's a long game. Some of these people are so unbelievably caught up. It's their entire life. Their identity. It pays all their bills. So they can't go cold turkey yet. This is what upsets me. If we're actually here for the victims, why are we still shaming them?
If you're going to shame, you don't need to be an anti-MLM content creator. You don't need to be
Absolutely
a creator
not.
or an educator. You need to leave because you're just going to hurt more people. And I usually don't speak this strongly, but as an anti-MLM content creator and educator myself, I do not want to be associated with someone who is going to do that to people. I am here to help those in MLM. You need to leave and stop. We are here to help people. Get out if you are not here to help people. If you are here to shame and you are here to hurt, you need to go. This is not the thing for you. Maybe you need more time. Maybe you need more time to get out of that thought process and get out of your MLM situation. Or maybe you just need to realize that this is not the place for you because this is a very selfless thing to do. And if you are very selfish, you don't need to do it. We go through enough from other people in MLMs who we are trying to save. We go through enough from them. We don't need people in our own anti-MLM community doing this to us. Leave. Sorry to speak so strongly. I don't deal with the bullshit like that. Absolutely not. No.
It all just feels very intentional. And creating division in this movement destroys the movement. So if you are creating division for the fact to just cause drama, which again, why? What's the point? It's unnecessary. We're here to help victims. We are here to heal. We are here to answer questions. We are here to ask, hey, why? Why is this happening? Why did this happen to me? Why is it still happening? Maybe it opens some people's eyes and they go, oh my God, I didn't realize I was doing this. Or whatever. I have no problem with anybody. I make mistakes all the time. I say something, I go, oh my God, that was not the right thing to say. And I learn and I do better. We just got to be better than the person the day before.
The thing that I want to know.
Heartbreaking.
This is what I want to know. I would like to know, and this is a serious question, for anybody who's watching this that has trouble with what we're saying, I want you to really reflect on why what we say and the position that we take makes you feel uncomfortable. I want to know why people having compassion makes you angry or makes you want to lash out. Because that is something that you need to work on hardcore. Because we can all have passion inside of us for things. We can all feel very strongly about what we do. Clearly, you're hearing people be very passionate. But I want to know why it is if somebody's passion doesn't look like yours, it's not okay. Because I'm going to tell you that as a trained mental health professional with about 20 years of experience in the field, you don't convince people to listen to you or to want to be on your side when you treat them like shit. You don't. So you got to ask yourself, why is it that a compassion-based message that allows people to walk through the process in their own time in a way that feels authentic to them is a problem for you? Because if everybody's process has to look like your process, you're going to walk the path by yourself, just so you know.
It's heartbreaking. This stuff happens all the time. This is not the place, Joanne, for whatever you are claiming and accusing. I'm sorry if you feel that way. You can take it up with the person that you feel is doing that to you, because it's not me and it's not my show. So on that, I am going to end this because I've dealt with enough of this behavior this week, and it's Friday. So I hope that everybody can take some time to work on the bite model. I'm going to post it on Instagram. There's some homework if you want. Again, totally voluntary, whatever you'd like to do, but going through the bite model and highlighting the parts of the bite model that affect you. Highlight what I'm going to say is you can take a screenshot of the bite model. You can go down the bite model, cross off anything that didn't happen to you. You can use black. Then you highlight things maybe in red that didn't happen to you, but happened to someone you know, and then highlight in a different color things that happened to you, and then step back and look and use that as a tool. This is the cultic control that happened to me. This is what's continuing to happen. This is what I want to be aware of. This is what I want to educate myself on and go from there, because we need to see what it looks like. We need to see how much of this in the influence continuum and the bite model is actually happening, what's happening to you, because again, every instance is completely personal. What happened to me might not have happened to you, and what happened to you probably didn't happen to me, and that's okay. Not everything is going to look the same. This is not a cookie cutter. This is an experience that we're working through. These chats are to help us work through these hard processes and these hard concepts. We're here to be supportive. And it's unfortunate when people come in and leave comments to derail that. And I wonder what the intention is there, because division doesn't bring people together. And if we truly all feel the same way about multi-level marketing, whether or not we are with our boots on the ground, doing the work, or creating content, or creating education to show what's going on, it's important. All of this is very important. This work is important. And it's tough work. And here's some here's some behind the scenes kind of stuff that actually happens. So that, again, it's Friday, and I'm very passionate about this, and I'm very passionate about helping educate the victims. Because again, when I left MLM, you were either one of two things. You were an idiot for being in an MLM, or you were an idiot for leaving an MLM. And that's not what we learn here. It is not black and white. It is a spectrum. It is full of nuances. It is full of individual choices and individual ideas and individual personalities and beliefs. And what we're looking for is the gray, and that gray is where we come together. So I implore you, please do some self-reflection, work on the bite model, find your gray nuance, and work from there. Because we talk about toxic diet culture, it's not in here, it's in here. And again, with this cultic control, it's in here. And I don't want anybody to feel horrible about this. I want to give you the tools to work out of these cults, and understand that other things can also look very culty, and give you the red flags to hear and see so you can avoid them. I want to say thank you so much to everybody that had to pop out earlier and everybody that's still on here. I really appreciate your guys' opinions, your voices. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm sorry that it got a little heated at the end, but again, we are very passionate I'm very passionate about the advocacy. I'm very passionate about the activism. I'm very passionate about getting the truth out there and sharing these things so that people can make the best decisions for themselves. And I apologize to anybody that felt victimized on this panel today. That was definitely not my intention, and I am sorry that it happened. Have a wonderful weekend. If you want to do the homework, find us on Instagram. If not, have a great weekend. And we are going to end the broadcast, and we'll see you next week. And also next week is going to be a fun one because we need some laughs. So next week is going to be all about the comedy and the ridiculousness. And we are going to take these heavy topics off for about a week or two. And we'll come back fresh next week with some musical adventures. Bye. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share the whole shebang. I don't know what to do, but you guys do. So thank you so much, and we will see you next week.